Hi Andrew, so the European Court of Human Rights has ruled in favour of a group of elderly ladies, essentially saying that the Swiss government has a duty to protect them and other citizens from climate change. How could this change the landscape of climate court cases, or what has been dubbed by some as climate lawfare?
Yeah, I think it because human rights law sits above ordinary law. It will mean that essentially the activist judges have been able to um, impose the climate agenda on the whole of society through essentially nefarious means. Essentially, it does open the doors to all sorts of litigation for anybody who can create a vague link to climate change can say, well, you have to do this because otherwise you've breached my human rights. It's quite interesting. This morning, the BBC is reporting a story of a guy who lives on the coast, and his house has disappeared off a cliff into the sea, and he's now trying to sue the government for breaching his human rights. It's really quite scary. This is going to cause absolute chaos.
And the only dissenting judge in the climate case was a British judge who said he feared the judgment went beyond what is legitimate and permissible for a court to do, that is, to essentially legislate rather than to judge.
Yeah, I think he's quite right. The argument that was put forward apparently was that the right to a family life was being somehow traduced by climate change. Apparently, one of the claimants said that she was unable to leave her home for several weeks each summer because of climate change. And it looks as though the judges accept this. This is clearly ridiculous. It clearly goes far beyond what any legislature would have considered the article to mean, the article referring to the right to a family life. This is judges really going quite a long way beyond what is reasonable, and I think ordinary people should be very concerned.
And given that we are still part of the ECHR, and given that the ECHR has a very large influence across law across Europe, what impact could this ruling have in the UK for future climate-based legal cases?
I mean, I think, as I alluded to before, we can expect many more legal cases on this basis that somehow climate change breaches human rights. I think in reality, it may be that it creates a backlash, and this was something that the UK judge on the court did allude to. I think that by going beyond what was legitimate, essentially they were going to push national legislatures into walking away from the European Convention on Human Rights. But as soon as people can see that it's not about human rights anymore, it's about imposing an elite agenda on the rest of us. Of course, there is a body of opinion within the Conservative Party that thinks we should get out of the European Convention as well. And I think it will become quite hard for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party to be seen to oppose it, because they will be seen to be standing up for an anti-democratic agenda, and you can hardly expect to be the party of the people if you're going to do that. That may be the true long-term impact of it, but we'll have to wait and see.
Andrew Montford, Director of Net Zero Watch, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.